I initiate all the projects.
Jack Lennox is good at his job.
I choose the venues, the times,
Some call him the best.
and the targets.
But then, Jack Lennox is no ordinary criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
Jack's life used to be simple. Now he's organising crime while his wife has an affair with a copper trying to catch him.
In his first television role since Cracker, Robbie Coltrane is the Plan Man. A drama premiere Monday after the ITV News at 9.
Good evening, you're watching ITV1. Now the latest from the Gulf in the ITV Weekend News with John Suchet.
British soldier killed in action in Iraqi ambush. Battle could be long haul, admits top general.
One never knows how long a war will take.
And England finally celebrate rugby's Grand Slam.
The ITV Weekend News with John Suchet.
Good evening. A British soldier has tonight been reported killed during an ambush in southern Iraq by militia still loyal to Saddam Hussein. The man died and several others were injured when their boats came under grenade and gun attack. The Royal Marine Commandos were fired on as they were checking a vital river crossing in the Al Faw Peninsula. It's an area previously patrolled by Marines and thought to be safe, but pockets of Iraqi fighters are clearly still willing to resist coalition forces. And our correspondent Kevin Dunn is at the Joint Military Command Headquarters in Qatar. Kevin, what more do we know about this incident?
Well, officials here at Joint Central Command will only confirm that another British serviceman has been killed in action today. But details of the incident are emerging from a report from a British journalist who witnessed the engagement. He says that two Royal Marine launchers were patrolling a waterway in the Al Faw Peninsula in the south of Iraq when they came under heavy fire. One of the launchers was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade and 3 Marine commandos on board were seriously injured. Others fell into the water, leaving only a corporal to take charge of the boat on his own. He's said to have dragged his wounded men to shelter behind a bulkhead and then to have sped out of the area under fire. Now, one of the Marines sadly later died from his injuries, but officers said that the death toll and the casualty toll could have been much worse, but for the bravery of that as yet unidentified corporal.
All right, Kevin, thank you. The Royal Marines were also involved in heavy fighting around Basra in their biggest offensive of the war so far. They stormed some of the suburbs and set up roadblocks to prevent Iraqi troops escaping from the city. In Basra, almost everyone is being treated with suspicion by British troops. Juliette Bremner is with the Marines and she sent this report.
A last desperate gamble to escape. Clutching their meagre possessions, Iraqi families must put their faith in British soldiers as they scramble to leave Basra. It's a chance to flee the bombs and mortars, but the road out is fraught with danger.
Right, everybody get back in the wagon now.
The Irish Guards steer them to safety, but when the order comes to take cover, some are too old or too frail to make it to the nearest ditch.
The main problem now is getting the civilians to push back, so when the explosions go off we don't get any civilian casualties, which would be catastrophic.
Not everyone is welcome. At a checkpoint, young men suspected of belonging to the Fadaim militia are singled out. Their faces covered, they're taken away for further interrogation. The battle to dismantle their bases now a military priority. This challenger on a mission to destroy any equipment that could be used to receive information about British movements. But the 7th Armoured Brigade is in a dominant position. Their tanks forming a ring of steel around the southeast of the city.
After 8 days, this British front line is still in roughly the same place. The heavy bombardments have now eased, but they're still being targeted by mortars, and it's the job of this platoon to try and counter that threat.
The dilemma now, how long they can wait before trying to free the people of this besieged city. Juliette Bremner, ITV News, near Basra.
Also in southern Iraq, Royal Marine Commandos have captured several top Iraqi army officers and killed a Republican Guard colonel. Most of the action took place last night south of Basra. The fierce battles were captured by night vision camera. Operation James targeted pockets of resistance around the city, where hundreds of Saddam Hussein's most loyal fighters have taken refuge. Some of the heaviest fighting seen so far is going on in central Iraq on the road to Baghdad. American troops have been trying, without success, to take the town of Nassiriya for a week. Today they turned up the heat with attack helicopters. Our correspondent James Mates is there with the US Marines. He sent us this eyewitness report.
Early evening in Nassiriya, and the relative calm of the day is about to end. A single 1,000-pound laser-guided bomb delivered from a jet high above signals the start of a sustained, ferocious attack. 2 US Marine Cobra helicopters circle the town, preparing to take on Iraqi positions on the far bank of the Euphrates River. Their weaponry, Hellfire missiles. The results on the ground were devastating. For a week now, elements of the Iraqi military and Saddam Fedayeen guerrillas have kept the Americans at bay from these positions. Now the gloves are coming off. The US military believe the civilian population has moved into the city away from these riverside positions. It is certainly true that since the air attacks have been stepped up, resistance from Nassiriya has lessened significantly. Less than a mile from this battle, on the American-controlled south bank of the Euphrates, the first efforts are being made to distribute humanitarian aid. This food from an Iraqi storeroom that will be given to villages nearby. Overseeing it, the Marine General commanding this sector of the front. He told me that at some stage in this battle he had always known he'd been going to have a fight on his hands.
I don't think anyone came into here thinking it was going to be a cakewalk. We knew that there were cells like the Republican Guard. We just didn't know when we'd run into them.
That battle for Baghdad may now just be a matter of days away. 2 huge armies will soon be in position to the east and the west of the city. The crucial decision now for Pentagon planners, given the level of resistance they've faced so far, is are those armies strong enough, or must they wait longer for further reinforcements? James Mates, ITV News, Nassiriya, Iraq.
The American Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld has denied that there's a pause in the war to await much-needed reinforcements. But the man who's effectively running the conflict, General Tommy Franks, was asked if he thought it would go into the summer. He didn't deny it.
One never knows how long a war will take. We don't know. But what we do know is that this coalition sees this regime gone at the end of that war.
Despite the war's slow progress, a new poll has indicated that public support for the conflict remains fairly steady. The survey, commissioned for ITV News by YouGov, asked whether Britain and America were right to take military action in Iraq. 54% said they were right. That's down 5% compared with the previous poll last week. 38% said the Allies were wrong to go to war, an increase of just 3%. We go to John Ray in Downing Street. John, there must be some relief there in Downing Street that the polls indicate support is steady.
Quiet relief, I think, yes, especially after a weekend, as you say, that's been dominated by rather gloomy talk of a halt in the coalition advance. Interesting as well that the poll now shows that a big bulk of people are resigned to this war lasting not weeks but months. In that context, no surprise either that there's very little support for the idea apparently floated by Robin Cook, who of course quit the cabinet over the war, his idea of withdrawing troops now. That gets rather short shrift for now. But why I say for now is because of course this is a volatile situation. God forbid but one huge military setback and the whole opinion picture could switch, which is why in the building behind me they are still incredibly twitchy.
Thank you, John. We're sad to report tonight the death of our colleague Gabby Rado, the highly respected correspondent for Channel 4 News who was working in northern Iraq. Gabby died in an isolated incident not related to the war. He appears to have fallen off a hotel roof early today. He was given first aid but died in hospital. There's still no firm news about two members of an ITN crew missing in Iraq. ITV News cameraman Fred Nirak and translator Hussein Osman came under American gunfire outside Basra in an attack in which our correspondent Terry Lloyd was killed. In other news, here now, the man